Ethereal Filchers are bizarre creatures, no doubt about it. They're just so very wrong looking. Considering they probably originated on a prime material world somewhere, one can only imagine whatever nightmare environment spawned these critters. Since they migrated to the ethereal plane, they have spread across the multiverse and can be found basically anywhere. On prime material worlds such as Toril, the Ethereal Filcher and its related cousin species, the Temporal Filcher, are lurkers in the wispy border of the realm of dreams and beyond. The deep ethereal expanse of infinite planes where immortal beings conduct their business playing Olympic games with the cosmos. But more on immortals in future videos. Filchers are opportunistic and curious creatures that are not actually as sneaky as you would imagine. They're just damned hard to catch and tend to pop out of nowhere, so most adventurers who encounter them and don't know about the ethereal plane would assume the creature is capable of teleporting from one spot to another, just at a lot slower pace than teleports normally take. Not a lot is known about the life cycle and ecology of the Filchers. It is assumed that the much larger Temporal Filcher is related, but is clearly not just an elder life stage of the same creatures, as the body shape is quite different. Ethereal Filchers stand on a prehensile foot with 3 long fingers and a thumb. It appears to walk on the tips of these finger toes. Rather than hop, it knuckle walks with its lower 2 arms, and the upper 2 arms on its head torso are long, thin, and have extra elbow joints. The fingers are also long and end in sharp claws that are coincidentally just the right shape to serve as lock-picking tools. Their torso is also where their mouth is located, along with usually 4 eyes. Their bite is fearsome looking, with teeth more like those of a shark, but they don't have a very strong bite force, and only inflict 1d4 plus 4 piercing damage to a single target within 5 feet, and with a plus 6 to their hit on the target, and a high dexterity score of 18. They rely on their speed of 40 feet and bonus action ability to perform what's called an ethereal jaunt, shifting instantly from the material plane to the border ethereal plane or vice versa. The Ethereal Filcher is about as tall as a human. While the body seems more massive, they're actually not much heavier than your average person. Their thin limbs give them a strength of only 10 and a constitution of 12. They have 80 hit points on average and an armor class of 14. Their pale white and green hide is tougher than it looks, a supple but leathery stuff. Filchers are not very intelligent. They don't have any language ability, but they're a lot smarter than your average parrot, say. Perhaps they are just as sneaky as a goblin. Encounters with them are typically sudden and violent, but they're certainly not intentionally murderous species. So Filchers are not liable to jaunt out of their border ethereal plane just to shove a victim off the edge of a cliff, for example. They don't appear to be tool users or have the capacity to make fire either. They live solitary lives, building cluttered nests for themselves, filled with refuse, trinkets, and the occasional treasure they've stolen over days, months, or even years. These nest lairs will be located in out-of-the-way places at the bottom of a dry well or an old mine shaft, in the basement of a ruin or the rubble of a broken tower, in an alpine cave or some lost dungeon in a desert somewhere. They prefer to hunt confined spaces underground for their prey, which is small animals, giant beetles, and spiders. Quite a few varieties of cave fungus, and also rotten wood seems to please them as they gnaw away support timbers and occasionally collapse mine tunnels from time to time. Why Filchers collect all the trinkets? Nobody knows. It might be a mating thing, it might just be because they like doing it. Like monkeys stealing objects from tourists, they may just be looking for food or grabbing items out of curiosity. They are attracted to magic items, unfortunately, as they can sense them as per the detect magic ability. Except in their case, this is just an innate trait they all share. While they can sense magic within 120 feet at will, I doubt they can sense the presence of all valuable items within that range. That's just a rumor. Still, the more I investigate these strange creatures, the more I get hints that something's not quite right here. There's just so little information on the Filchers. I suspect that all the information gathered on them has ended up being stolen by none other than the Filchers, and the objects they steal serve some sort of a dark purpose. The arrangement of the objects in their lair is not as random as it seems, and if you pay attention to the silvery strands of the strange web they slick all over the walls and goob the objects into the web with blobs of it, it's not random. They're making strange connections. A finger bone here, a ruby there, some cat whiskers, a collection of the same coin minted on different years, scraps of paper, locks of hair, dried flowers, a doll, a polished spoon. I have the strangest foreboding. And the more I look at it, the more that I see, the crazier the connections seem. Like a tarot card reading that's scrambling my sense of things rather than giving me an alternative point of view. It's making me distrust everything. Don't look into those nests too much. Just loot them and set them on fire. Filchers have a knack for burrowing. They never make extensive tunnels, but be sure to check the nest for secret hiding places, concealed behind trapdoors of web and clutter. That's where they keep the magic items, which are easier to find if you investigate the patterns. But don't look into those nests too much. Just loot them and set them on fire. You can go back and find magic items that don't get destroyed by fire later on. Ethereal Filchers are very accurately named. They're the most effective pickpockets, and that's for damn sure. As an action, the Filcher can make a dexterity sleight of hand check to steal an item being worn, carried, or held by a creature it can see within 10 feet. If the creature is unaware of the Filcher, it opposes the check with a wisdom perception check, and the Filcher has advantage on its check. If the creature is aware of the Filcher, it can oppose the check with a strength or dexterity saving throw, the target's choice. If the Filcher succeeds and steals the item, it gains the benefits of the disengage action until the end of its current turn. Filchers are +3 to perception, +6 to sleight of hand, and +6 to stealth. They don't tend to steal multiple items. If they're facing any opposition at all, they will skedaddle. Ethereal Filchers are challenge rating 3, and Temporal Filchers are challenge rating 6 to 8. They generally wander around alone. Temporal Filchers stand at least 8 feet tall and have a body structure exactly the same as the Ethereal Filcher, except instead of having a second face protruding from their head torso, they have a large horn instead, which thankfully they don't use to attack people. Temporal Filchers are large and their attacks have 10-foot reach. They also have some innate magical powers, despite still having an intelligence of only 7 points. And aside from being able to cast Shield, they can also cast Minor Illusion, only over their own body, blending into their surroundings. They can also cast Spider Climb, Levitate, and Featherfall. Their powers are psychic in nature, so I'm just compensating with arcane spells instead. Their powers over time are quite an advantage in combat. If a Temporal Filcher successfully grapples a large or smaller creature, it latches onto the opponent's body and shifts 7 minutes forward in time, with the Temporal Filcher and its prey disappearing in a shimmer, then reappearing 7 minutes later in exactly the same position they were in. For the Filcher and its prey, no time has passed at all, and the victim must succeed on a DC 16 Wisdom saving throw or be stunned for 1 round from temporal disorientation, so that they would lose any strength or dexterity saving throws. Attacks advantage against them. They can speak a bit, but they can't move or take any actions and reactions as they just stand there and go, "What just happened?" Thanks to the Temporal Filcher being able to see into the future a little bit, they get an ability called Progressive Initiative, and this is excellent. With Progressive Initiative, at the start of each round after the first, the Temporal Filcher's initiative increases by 4, ending only when it hits 20. So whenever it starts in the initiative order, it only takes a moment for the Temporal Filcher to start getting the upper hand. This is an interesting mechanic that you can try out with a number of monsters or magic items that dabble with time travel and those tricky antagonists who can make use of divination magic while in the middle of combat. If you're the sort of DM who rolls for initiative at the start of every round, still add that +4, make it cumulative each round. Finally, up to 4 times per long rest, the Temporal Filcher can teleport its movement speed and avoid all damage from one attack or spell. This counts as using a bonus action. It's simply diving a few moments into the future. The advantage is that it doesn't have to cross any transitive plane where something could be waiting to attack it from the other side. The Ethereal Filchers occasionally have that problem with phase spiders, their most hated enemies. I just nabbed some homebrewed stats, the stat blocks from D&D Beyond's homebrew archive. It's super easy to search for all the monsters in official 5th edition publications, and you can use them as templates to create your own unique creatures or recreate monsters, spells, magic items, and all that hoo-ha from all of the old editions of the game onto the D&D Beyond site. The homebrew database is packed with stuff. I quite often just make happy use of the submissions there, shared so generously among members of the D&D community worldwide, and I've got quite a few submissions on there myself. My name is AJ Pickett. I still don't know much about where Temporal Filchers come from, but I'll keep making deep dive lore videos about Dungeons & Dragons lore as long as you keep watching them. As always, thanks for listening, and I swear my next video is going to be at the night markets of Hades and fiends that willingly turn themselves into evil magic weapons. It'll be cool and worth the wait. In the meantime, Thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.